can be on the show with us if you want to. We talking about housing today.
I ain't ready yet. I'm still getting used to it. You know that you are a content creator. Like,
Oh shit! I did that wrong. I did that so wrong, y'all. Coke, I'm gonna kick your ass in 5 seconds. Okay. Hey, we're back another Saturday on the Watch Dawgs. We're on our Black Media Network, and I'm representing Georgia Bulldogs. So, Julius Hall, when you see this, don't get mad at me. But hey, I got to get ready for next weekend. Chandra, how's it going?
You're in Savannah. Well, I finally made it home. Boy, it is good to be home.
That's it. That's it. So
we're gonna put this on full. Okay. How about we do this for the blind people?
Well, okay, I can't do that because y'all, she's trying to make it big, but as long as y'all see her, she don't have to see y'all. So today, you all, we're going to talk about housing and the homeless pandemic. We know about the COVID pandemic that has plagued America and the world, but what we don't talk enough about is the things that are impacting the Black community, and disproportionately, we know that homelessness impacts our community. One, because 400 years ago, slavery created such a problem that we still have not overcome. And then two, as we fast forward, we know that there's not equitable practices. And we are just downright living in a racist environment that we're not intended to live in. So systems, right? So let me start with our first visual today. And we're going to kind of just go through this really, really quick. We're not going to read this article, but this is a very reputable media outlet. And let's get it right here. So we know that Kamala Harris, and I don't know if Donald Trump talked about affordable housing.
We're really? Really?
Yeah. We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Oh, okay.
But we see, now mind you all, let me get to this. I'm going to kill you, Cash. That's my little cousin, y'all. I'm not going to really kill him for the pale people out there that get overly excited. That's a term of endearment we use in our community. Just had to say that. But anyway, we know in 2023 that there was a 12% increase in homelessness. right? Which was the highest reported level, and it continues to grow as rents grow. We see inflation, we see a number of things, right? At the time of 2023, about 6,553,000 people were homeless. So this is a lot. And so, Chandra, I just want to get your take on that. We are in a pandemic still. Yeah.
Well, yes, because when you think about it, since 2020, I mean, well, since even before 2020, disproportionately, you know, we have suffered from being behind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're behind as far as earning potential. We're behind in everything. So that means that when things happen in America, like the housing bust, and when we have not enough units of affordable housing right here in Savannah, even if you make over $50,000, you still can't afford to live in Savannah.
Right, which is as a small metropolitan area.
Exactly.
Compared to Dallas and Atlanta.
Yeah, Houston.
Right.
You know, and that is disgusting. And it has everything to do with policies, and it has everything to do with your local policymakers.
Yeah.
Because if they would, just like in New York City, put rental caps, you wouldn't have investors coming in, because a lot of these people that own these rental properties that our parents used to own, you know, of the houses where our parents used to own in Nottingham, in mid Savannah,
right.
in West Savannah, all of these houses that used to be very affordable for regular working people are no longer affordable. And they're pushing them out and out and out. But where are they pushing them to?
Right.
Because as Savannah gets higher in their pricing, then you have Hinesville,
right.
They're getting high.
Well,
Effingham is getting higher. Bryan County, you can't even, child, please, don't even go over there. You know.
But like you said, people are getting pushed to the suburbs, and the suburbs are not friendly, and not friendly in so many ways to our communities. And so, it's sad to see that people that don't look like us get to take over our neighborhoods. Like you said, in particular, our Black neighborhoods, which is quite interesting. But let's go to a message really quick. We'll come back. We'll talk more about that. But what I want to really zero in on today is, you talked about affordable housing. So we want to talk about the homelessness rate. We know that it's continuing to grow because of a number of things. And I'm so sick of people using COVID, but we just have people who have stupid, downright terrible policies such as trickle down. So after we come from the break, we'll kind of talk about that part. And we're back. So let's kind of shift our gears for a slight second. And let's look at this here. So let's break it down to Georgia. In 2022, Georgia's homeless population was estimated to be 10,689 people, or 9.9 person per 10,000 residents. This is the 24th lowest rate among the 50 states. The thing that kind of gets to me is that families with children, over 2,000 families, or 30% of our population that's homeless in Georgia, are full families. And so how do we fix that? How do we alleviate that problem?
Just like VP Harris said the other night, we have to build more units.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be specific to affordable units.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need any more what we used to call back in the 70s, 80s, they created the projects.
Right.
We need mixed use housing, which that's what I think Savannah Gardens was supposed to be.
Right.
We need housing like that, but we need a lot of it, because people shouldn't sit on waiting lists from from the time their child is born, and then they finally going off the 8th grade, and then you telling me, oh, you just came up on the list for now turn in all your paperwork. I done moved 22 times since then. So I mean, when make it make sense.
Right.
It needs to make sense, and it needs to make sense for all people.
Right.
And that's the reason why a lot of times when these Republicans are talking about, being pro-family and pro-life, and well, you can't just be pro-life until the life is brought into this world.
Right.
Because if the life is walking around in the streets with their mama or their daddy and mama and no place to stay,
that's
make it make sense.
And I think you mentioned this a moment ago. You were driving through the city on the way over to do the podcast, and you noticed a lot of young Black children out there on the side of the road. Some of them, we have a pandemic selling water. Now, we often use the city of Savannah as a case statement, and I tell people this all the time. We look at Kamala Harris, sister of AKA. Hey, Savannah could have had an AKA mayor, but y'all fumbled that one. So now what we have is a pandemic. That's a real joke, and I hope my frat brother heard it. But anyway, frat member, excuse me. But we still have a pandemic where now children are suffering. They're out on the road selling water because they got to find a way to make ends meet. And all of this, Reagan talked about trickle down. And this is how it trickles down, folks. Trickle down theory was, hey, I'll give my billionaire friends more money, and then somehow it'll trickle down to the working poor. And that's just not the truth. So that's not the truth.
It is definitely not the truth.
So what happens if children suffer, families suffer, you have things like this, and then what happens if one of those young people get hit by a car? But this is something Keisha Gibson Carter talked about last year. But again, what I've noticed in a lot of our Black cities is it doesn't bother my household. It doesn't impact me. So guess what? I'm not going to worry about it. But let me play this clip really quick. It talks about buying a home, and we're going to shift into this whole idea of affordable housing. So I'm not going to play that whole clip. But what I talked about, you all, was basically buying your own home and getting access to that. And so what we do know is that certain populations don't have that same access. So let me play this clip really quick, and I played the wrong one. which was so funny to me. Y'all didn't see that, but you heard that visual. But let me play the reality of some Americans, especially Black folks in America.
When I signed up for Section 8 and low income housing, I did not feel that I would be on that list for 12 years.
Finding long-term housing within her budget has been an uphill battle for Tanya Frazier, a disabled woman who had to take care of 3 children. Tanya has been waiting 12 years to be granted affordable housing by the San Diego Housing Commission.
Sometimes hopeless that I'm never going to come up on that list.
ABC News, in collaboration with ABC-owned TV stations, has spent the last 6 months investigating the public and affordable housing crisis affecting cities and towns across the country. We found that for housing vouchers, which are local subsidies helping renters find homes on the private market, the average wait in San Diego County is 8 years. And for public housing, San Diego has the longest wait time of any large metro area in the U.S.
The wait list for public housing is over 18 years. Today, what we're seeing is a housing crisis unlike one that we've seen since the mid-20th century.
The lack of public and affordable housing is a widespread issue. Our analysis shows public housing wait times exceed 17 years in Suffolk County, New York, 9 years in Meeker County, Minnesota, and 6 years in Hinds County, Mississippi.
We haven't built any large-scale public housing since Richard Nixon put a moratorium on that construction in the 70s. There isn't a state in the country where someone working at minimum wage with 40 hours a week can afford a typical 2-bedroom apartment.
The Department of Housing and Urban Development says President Biden's American Rescue Plan has helped more than 50,000 people experiencing homelessness, but acknowledges more work must be done.
The Biden administration is asking Congress for more resources to...
So let me get your reaction. I'm going to put this dog up, but go ahead.
Okay, guys. Now, I threw out, 8 years as a, because I knew some people that had been on that list, the housing list for 8 years. But in some cities, people are sitting on waiting lists for affordable housing for nearly 2 decades. So how do you avoid, being homeless? First of all, how do we avoid being homeless if we're on a waiting list for 2 decades? We have to come up with strategies as Black people on how to work around a system that was not built for us, because what angers me now is that they're bringing in these people from where was it? Afghanistan, when these Mexicans, get here and, they let them loose. All of these people, because there's this immigration, there's immigration laws also, or, they will get housing before you or I get housing, or our children get housing. And because when we pulled out of Afghanistan, it was so critical, they had to get these people out of there and blah, blah, blah. So they brought over a whole bunch of people, and these people needed housing. So that automatically pushed, because see, didn't no houses just grow up out the ground,
right?
So that pushed everybody in whatever cities, those refugees, because that's what they were called.
Right.
Those refugees were taken to. If they were taken to Virginia, it moved some people down that was already nearing the front of the line. It moved them all the way back.
Right.
Because they have to find housing. They couldn't let them continue to live in those tent cities because that's what they built for them. So we as Black people, we have always been last, even though we should be first. And what my thought to it all is this: do things like the immigrants do when they come over here. You know, stop. And I've said this on many of shows on ATR Media. Stop allowing your children to move out at the age of 18. Just stop it, because that's where the struggle begins. You know, because if you could just let them see that, hey, you might have to stay at home until you're 25 or until you're 28. You know, you don't have to go to college, but get a trade to where you're making enough money to put back some money so that you will have a down payment on something, you know. And in a lot of jobs, if you're in a, you know, if you're in a trade, you know, you're getting a job where you're getting 401k. You're not getting 401k saying, "Welcome to McDonald's, may I take your order?"
Well, and not even that. We're not finding what you're talking about, and what was mentioned in one of the clips was home ownership is seen and is almost a ticket to a middle class, right?
Yes.
Because what I tell people all the time, we've got to reverse our thinking. Like, and I'm not throwing a shout out when I say stuff like this, but we need to put more investment in things like homes and things that appreciate equity, and less time. And I don't mean no shot when I say these. Less time in buying balloons for somebody who done died and throwing balloons in the air. You're spending money. Less time worrying about the best Jordans or who gonna wear what at school because I got polo on. We've got to change the mindset and stop buying cars and rims. None of that, the balloons, none of that bullshit carries any weight. What carries weight are IRAs, investments, certificates of deposits, things that we're not used to having conversations about. And but watch this now, as soon as you go to somebody's house today and they're like, "Oh, I'm about to go have a balloon release for grandma who died 20 years ago," what the hell does that do? See, what we've got to do is stop with the feel goods and do what is called the do rights. And that is investing money, because what has happened is we don't have what's called generational or sustainable wealth in our communities and in our families. We have, okay, we're gonna do enough for this generation or this particular part of the family and get through. When it's time to bury them, now I gotta do a GoFundMe to bury them. And I'm not throwing shots, I'm just showing you how we've got to change the mindset. Whereas we could have had the funding, invested in things that will carry weight, go borrow against that, or better yet, go borrow within our community. That way you don't have debt, you're prepared for a rainy day, and you got enough investments that not only does it carry that generation, but carries generations down the road.
And let me tell you something else. I'm going to tell you this personally.
Yeah.
I want you to stop apologizing for speaking truth to power, you know, because that all that you said is true.
Yeah.
And you don't have truth don't have to apologize.
Yeah.
Truth don't come to a room saying I apologize for being true.
Right.
Okay.
You know how people are.
Yeah.
Oh, you know that nigga down there.
No. We not gonna call you the beige Negro that they hear too much. No. But this is what I'm going to say is that also in respect to what you say, that when you have a house, just like right now, I'm sitting in your house.
Right, that one daddy built.
That his daddy built. Okay. And now picture this. His dad has passed away. He could have allowed his mom to go into a care facility, and you could have sold his house. This is a nice house. They calling all. I've been hearing that people are getting 4 and 5 phone calls a day about selling their houses in Liberty City.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you would be stupid to sell your investment because you only really need one of these rooms. Well, you need 2 of these rooms because you got your mom.
Right.
But there's 3 rooms in here, right?
4. Yeah.
So not only do you have an investment, But you also have a investment plus,
Right.
because you could fix one of those rooms up,
Mm-hmm.
and either one, you can Airbnb it,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
two, you could rent it
Right.
as one room to either a college student or just someone that does not come. I wouldn't rent, because I like my peace.
Right.
I wouldn't rent my rooms to somebody that has children,
Right.
but I would rent a room to somebody with no children. You're just
a family member, something like that.
a family member or something like that. Yeah, because right now for a 1-bedroom, now I can only tell y'all about a 1-bedroom in Texas.
Right.
But a one bedroom in Houston, Texas is $1,500 a month.
And that's about $1,200 here in Savannah.
Okay.
Right. So it's ridiculous.
So if I
and watch this, that's on the outskirts of the city.
Yeah.
This is nowhere near your main attraction.
No. Because if you live downtown Houston, if you want to live downtown Houston or midtown Houston, you're starting off at $2,600. Period.
For maybe 600 square feet.
Period.
Up there.
So my thought, when I bought my house and everybody was saying, why you buy a 5-bedroom house? You ain't nobody with you. Hey.
Right.
It's an investment, because I know one thing, that if hard times come for me, or if I get sick or something and can't work, I only need one of them bedrooms.
Right.
I can rent out the other 4 at $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's my whole mortgage.
And then
some.
Right.
So people need to start thinking.
Yeah.
You got to start thinking. And you guys that have parents that are aging and you're eyeing your mama's house like a vulture, save your mama's house. I tell people this all the time. You don't get rid of real estate. You don't.
Never. You lease it or you borrow against it if you got to. But you don't sell no. Man, let me tell you something. And I tell people this a lot of times. The wise thing about, we got a number of homes in this side of our neighborhood where you'll see, like our next door neighbor, that house sits on at least 1.5 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why these were smart black men back in the day, in the 50s and the 60s, because they didn't want to be jammed up on one another. What you will notice about homes is that you hear the next person getting in. Well, they were wise enough to know that's not what I want. But guess what? If that man ever sell that land, right now where this neighborhood is placed in proximity to the entertainment in downtown, that man can sell that plot of land probably for close to $1 million.
Yep.
He can sell his whole estate probably for close to $5 million. And that's honestly right now in this market, that's a no-brainer. But going back to your point, young people look at the space and they just see dollar signs. Dollar signs ain't no good 10 years down the road. When the dollar's gone, you ain't got that investment.
Exactly, because you can only sell it once.
You can only
but I can rent my room every month.
Yep.
Okay. But you can only sell yours one time.
That's it.
So you have to think.
All right, y'all. We're gonna do a quick message from a number of folks, and then we'll be right back.
Have you been thinking about starting a nonprofit? Is your nonprofit missing funding opportunities? If so, the Grant Formula Workshop is for you. Join us Wednesday and Thursday, August 14th and 15th at Vintage 980 Industry Drive in Savannah. Get the tools to secure funding for your organization. The Grant Formula Workshop, a $300 value for only $60. Reserve your seat on Eventbrite today. Get new ideas and new strategies. The Grant Formula Workshop, Wednesday and Thursday, August 14th and 15th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. each day at Vintage 980 Industry Drive in Savannah. Reserve your seat today. The Grant Formula Workshop. For more information, call 912-657-6873.
I'm Patty Hewitt, and I'm worried about our future.
Last one.
I think about my grandkids and the belief that they deserve every opportunity. And what you deserve, what coastal Georgia deserves, is someone who cares more about their community than about corporate profits and big pharma.
I'll see you later.
All right, thank you. Small business owners and hardworking Georgians are the heart of our community.
Have a good day.
Not CEOs, not lobbyists, not shareholders, but who's taking care of them? It's time to ask yourself, what do you want from your government? This is our year to stand up against what we know is wrong. No more DC politicians invading our home life. No more racism that kills dreams and spreads violence. And no more corporate greed at the expense of workers' rights and our environment.
So what would be the most meaningful help to you?
I've spent the last 8 years working behind the scenes, mobilizing our communities for positive change. And while that is really important work, I can't stand by and allow the same tired politicians to run this country, the same ones who've neglected the real needs of Georgians. I'm ready to take our seat in Congress so I can fight for you and your families.
I vote for you.
Thank you, my darling. I love you. This isn't about party lines. This is about voting for a better future for more Georgians. Enough is enough.
Hello, I'm Richard Coleman, and I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Chatham County. And when I'm elected, I promise to inspect what I expect. Chatham County, it's time for a change, and that change is me, Richard Coleman.
All right, y'all. Let me play this video here with presidential candidate Kamala Harris, and we won't have a political conversation today, but both of the candidates, she's the only one that I can recall that has talked about this issue. So hold on one second.
To address as a bold and comprehensive plan to address the affordable housing crisis facing millions of Americans. Her vision includes a range of strategies designed to make housing more accessible and affordable for all. One of the key components of her plan is a $100 billion investment in housing assistance for low-income and middle-class families. This funding would be used to provide down payment and closing cost assistance, making it easier for people to buy homes. Additionally, Harris aims to increase the supply of affordable housing by incentivizing the construction of high-density residential buildings near public transit. This approach not only addresses housing shortages, but also promotes environmentally sustainable development. Harris also plans to strengthen tenant protections to prevent unfair evictions and rent hikes, ensuring that families can stay in their homes. Furthermore, her plan includes significant investments in addressing homelessness, with a focus on providing permanent supportive housing and wraparound services to help individuals get back on their feet. Through these multifaceted efforts, Kamala Harris aims to create a more equitable housing market where everyone has the opportunity to live in a safe, affordable home.
Well, there you go. People always say, why does voting matter? Well, that's what matters. I mean, that's, outside of the infrastructure bill that Joe Biden put forth, I think this is one of the more groundbreaking pieces outside of the healthcare bill that we are seeing a shortage in housing, but then you're seeing a shortage of people who can afford the housing. And so this is just a brilliant plan that I think will provide a very strong flooring under a struggling economy and people who are just either homelessness or they just don't have enough housing. And what I mean by nobody wants to live in Section 8 in an apartment forever. There should be access to buying a home, and they don't have the capital or resources to do that. So I think this is a very important plan, and people need to lean into that. Whereas you have Donald Trump, who only wants to provide for his billionaire buddies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you because if all, I mean, even if they're putting in affordable housing, it does not give me a sense of ownership.
Right.
When I'm just sticking my key in somebody else's door.
Mm-hmm.
But I take great pride
Mm-hmm.
from my curb to my neighbors, to my neighbor on the other side.
Right.
I take great pride in my home because it's mine.
Right.
It's mine.
Right.
I mean, and it's nothing like, I don't care whether it's your 1-bedroom flat or it's your 5-bedroom mansion, your forever home or whatever, however they say it. It's something when you can come in and know, can't nobody put me out unless I don't pay the mortgage.
Right.
And guess what? The mortgage even changes, because we're so used to having to pay everything by the third. Well, when you have your own home, they give you flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see you keep your home.
Right.
They will do everything in their
They don't want that.
The bank don't want your house back.
Right.
So if you call them, because you're not late until usually about the 16th anyway. And if you call them on the 16th and say, hey, I can only pay half.
Right.
Hey, half it is.
Right.
Fine. We'll put, if you say, hey, can you put this month's mortgage on the back end? Fine. You have some flexibility that you don't have when you are renting from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it really feels good for nobody to be able to tell me what color paint I can put on the walls,
right,
or anything.
allowed you being,
you're respectful, but I had an apartment where I paid for the whole apartment, including the balcony. And they used to tell me, you can't put anything on your balcony. Well, what the hell y'all put it there for? If I can't put nothing on my balcony, I need y'all to take that off my rental.
Right.
Right. Take it off my rental because, obviously it's not for me to you.
Right.
But now I take pride in being able to go outside. I have different spaces around my entire house.
Yeah.
Just for peace. I have a hobby room. I have an office. I have, a place that I read, a place that I do these ridiculous shows with RG and them, I have all of that. And at the end of the day, it took me 50 years.
Wow.
It took me 50 years, but it took me years of being housing insecure.
Yeah.
Because I used to live right out on Park Avenue Park.
Mm-hmm.
You probably didn't know this.
Right.
But when I started college, I was living on Park Avenue Street Park.
Wow.
With me and my newborn baby.
Wow.
And it was just a drive in me that said, I don't ever want to be homeless again. I spent 2 years homeless.
Wow.
From my freshman year to I think I was a sophomore, because I was one of those ones that was on the housing list. I had been on the housing list forever. I didn't get my housing voucher until I was 26. Wow. And I had applied for housing back when I was 17.
Wow.
Okay. So almost 10 years. And that was back a long time ago. But even back then, it was a long wait.
Wow.
To get any relief. But I said to myself, I never want to be in a situation where me and my children are homeless, or somebody can tell us, get out.
Right.
Get out. And it wasn't until I moved to Houston that I, lived in an apartment and stuff like that for the first time in over 20 some years,
Wow.
But it was a great experience because it motivated me
Right.
to save money, stop buying shoes, stop going to Hobby Lobby, stop going to Joann's, stop doing a lot of things that was nonsense and put in, invest into my 401k and everything. And when it was time for me to buy my house, I went right to my 401k, and called my 401k like I was calling Shirley.
Barbara, just Shirley.
Barbara.
Go ahead and sign it over. Right.
But
but you know what you're talking about is a real life experience. What disturbs me a lot of times with voters, I'm going to say voters in our communities is, for the life of me, I don't understand why we don't see the value in Kamala, but we will find a way to pick her apart. But at the end of the day, this is important. And you talked about being homeless and with children and all that. There are people out there now, you all, that don't even know where to begin. One of the most important activities I like to do is help people feed the homeless, because when you go, and I'm going to use Atlanta, Georgia, I want you all to go to Woodruff Park in Atlanta, right downtown, between a public university called Georgia State and the hustle and bustle of Atlanta. You'll see easily 60 people there. For whatever reason, we don't know, but they are homeless with no food and no clothing. And we'll look down on them and all of that. And it's sad how we have become a nation of people who just have become tone deaf to folks who have less than us. And so to hear a real life experience, people don't have to live that. But the thing I tell people all the time, if you got privilege and you have leverage called a gift, you should be using that to help people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I was so turned off, a few years ago when they started pushing the homeless people because nobody wants to fix it, but nobody wants to see it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, and to have this homeless community, down there next to where the rich folk play, that just wasn't cool.
Yeah.
So then your mayor, caves into his donors, really. That's all that was. He just caved into the donors instead of saying, hey, if you want to move them, I'm gonna need $2 million from your company, a commitment for $2 million from your company.
Yeah.
$2 million from yours, $2 million from yours.
Yeah.
So that we can build some houses, so some transitional housing or whatever type of housing for these homeless people. Because if all we're doing is shifting them from one side of Savannah to another side of Savannah that doesn't even have reliable transportation for them, all we're doing is increasing their hurt.
Well, it's so sad. We have governments across this nation that Democrats and Republicans alike that are just plain idiots. When you raise rents and when you raise the price of living in a community, the crime is going to go up. Poverty and crime do just like this together.
Yep.
Like this together. Because people want to eat, people want to live secure. And so then what you do is you'll displace the homelessness when I think honestly we have solutions. How many unused buildings do we have in our communities? How much surplus do we have in our corporate partners and governments to where we can invest in a building that has not been used, house people for a temporary period of time, build a program out that rehabilitates them to either sustainable living, or for those who just have strong mental issues, we find programs to support that. But instead of taking people and throwing them in the trash and ignoring them because we're too damn ignorant and too sad to use our gifts to solve the problem. So my call on these governments, and especially at this federal level, I think Cornel West would be a beautiful person to serve on when Kamala wins. Because when Kamala wins, call on my good brother Cornel West to lead the HUD. He has a brilliant plan. Rehabilitate these unused buildings, this poor program funding in for these programs, because what's going to happen is we spend just as much money on existence of poverty as we do helping people. What I know? What's going to happen is people are going to get killed, people are going to get robbed, people are going to have traumatic experiences because we didn't invest in homelessness, right? We invest in it, we place people, we use funding for programs, same amount of money. You might be $1 off here and there, but what I'm saying is we have the solution in front of us. One of the things my daddy used to do, we're Catholic, and he would go to all the hospitals, and he would go to, I talk about this a lot, hospitals and the sick and shut in and give communion. And part of his prayer was, God put enough resources on this earth. We just got to damn learn to share. He didn't cuss, y'all. I cuss. He hated when I cuss, but I cuss. But anyway, we've got to learn to share. Just because, what does it, this bothers me, what does it look like that if someone has $1 billion in the United States and maybe 2 blocks away or 1 state away, you got 60 people or 100 people or 1,000 people just hungry? That is stupid as hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's stupid.
I mean, it is, because you can't eat it all. And that's what I always think of when I think of, because I've been homeless and because I have gone to bed with nothing to eat, I always buy enough. And I always, a lot of people that's on here that really know me, that's on my page, they know that I cook a lot. And it's because just in case.
Yeah.
I cook for my next door neighbors because they're elderly people. It's nothing for me to tell my son, hey, take plates.
Yeah, and they may not need it.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about.
You do that.
Yes, that's community.
That's what's called community.
Yeah.
And it is of no use for me to be the only millionaire on a block where everybody else is starving.
That's crazy to me. We're gonna play our final clip and then give a reaction, and we're gonna be out of here for the day. But you all, thanks for tuning in. This is an important topic because it is. We've got to learn to be one of the things. As we watch this election, we've got to learn to be a community again. People who are unified, who work together, who understand the value of just loving your neighbor.
We also know that as the price of housing has gone up, the size of down payments have gone up as well. Even if aspiring homeowners save for years, it often still is not enough. So in addition, while we work on the housing shortage, my administration will provide first-time home buyers with $25,000 to help with the down payment on a new home.
So people often say, well, what's her policy on this? I think that's a brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a brilliant, and I'm going to tell you why. I live in a community you all call the city of Savannah where, they have a millage rate. The millage rate will dictate the price of your property taxes. But if I'm already working in a city, by the way, which is just a straight shout out on the governor and the city leaders. If I work in a city where billions of dollars come to that port and you still got poverty, I don't understand it, but y'all are just stupid for not addressing it, whatever. I can't even afford to live in a hotel room where I work, but much less here I am, 45 years old, worked all my life, and can barely eat. So this is a great program. I think it should have been handled a long time ago, but when you have local leaders who are hungry, are in bed with developers, I get it. So this is an important piece of policy that, if anything, you all, we talk about Donald Trump gave y'all a stimulus check. What's 16 grand versus $100,000? So Kamala's about to give you $100,000 because you know why I say that? You get $25,000 down in assistance. A home value now, basic 3-bedroom, 1-bath home is worth $100 grand. So you really get close to $150,000 investment.
Yep.
I mean, but y'all do the math. Y'all like that little check y'all get.
Make the math.
Y'all like when the white man give you a little check. So hey, I'm just saying. I see the math different.
I do too. I really do too, man. And if we could get people to start thinking on a macro level instead of on a micro level, because you spent that $1,200 within a week.
Yeah.
I know you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But that $25,000 that you would get as a down payment on a house, it is the gift that will keep on gifting.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, because when you're able to put your down payment down, you don't have to come up with, you know, you don't have to come up with any money if you price yourself in the right price range. And you know, my house, I know if you're a first-time home buyer and they're giving you $25,000, I had, you know, my house is in the 300,000 range, and I only put 15,000 on my house. So I know that you can get, you know, that if you get a house that's 200,000, you know, even built from the ground up, you good. You're good. You know, so let's all just let's start thinking, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That,
So y'all,
that's where I'm at.
We got a few messages, and shout out to Chris Benji Smith, who does all of our, well, most of our media. That brother, y'all check him out on YouTube. It's 2 Benji, Benjii. His music is phenomenal. We want to support our young black brother. And shout out to my young brother in the mall who has his little stand outside of Belks, outside of Foot Locker in the Overthought Mall in Savannah. If you're in Savannah, check out that young brother. He's got, I think it's called Wacky Candy or something like that, but check him out.
Hey there. Are you ready to amplify your voice and embrace your passion? Tune in to Our Black Media Network, where community comes first and every story matters. We're here 24/7, delivering powerful content on everything from financial literacy to the latest in sports and mental health. We are unapologetically real, reflecting the heartbeat of our community with programs that inspire, empower, and drive change. Join us on all major media platforms to celebrate our unique voices and advocate for the change we want to see. With over 50K monthly viewers, our network is your go-to destination for authentic, engaging content. Be a part of the movement. Be a part of the change. Tune in to Our Black Media Network today and let your voice be heard.
We're back, and she's measuring my head to make a hat, y'all. So we're back. But final thoughts today. I'll let you do the final thoughts, and then we'll be out of here. We'll see y'all next Saturday.
Final thoughts is, you know, that we are the change that we want to see. We are the change that we want to see. So if there's a change that you want to see, go in the mirror, start writing it down, and start being that change. You know, I can't express to you more. I told RG that we're doing the 5-on-5 movement. So everybody start identifying your 5 people that you're going to the poll with. That means that you're going to have 1 in the front seat and 3 in the back seat. You know, it's going to be a 5-on-5 movement. And then in the car behind you, same thing. You know, identify your 5, because we're going to make this happen on November the 5th, because it is no do-overs if we don't do it right.
That's it. That's it. All right, you all, we got one comment. I want to position that. Ivan Cohen, where have you been the whole day?
Hey, Ivan.
All right, you're right. And Ivan said workshops in the community regarding economic development definitely will help. As a matter of fact, Ivan, we do have financial sense. And that's on this network. But I think you're exactly right. The more, the better. And I would say this, you know, as we're different in our homes talking about wealth, we need to be talking about sustainable wealth. And that means from our wiser folks to our younger folks, that's the conversation that we can all have together. Well, Ivan, maybe next week you can tune in a little closer to the beginning time. We won't hold that to you today. But we'll see y'all next Saturday as Ivan Cohen will join us as one of our top viewers again on our Black Media Network. Take care.
Like that.